Hello, everyone. Thank you again for sitting with me during this month of June 2015. Today is June 2nd, and actually we have a full moon today, and I would like to begin with the energies and the influences of our full moon today. We have a full moon in the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is most associated with and connected to the higher mind, our connection with the higher mind. That's the part of us that exists in spirit, but even though we are in physical human form, we are still very connected to that energy. That is where we receive inspiration, where we receive any communication we have with our spirit guides, the angels, God, with whatever it is that you would like to call that entity and those energies. It all comes through our connections with the higher mind. Sagittarius is also associated with higher learning, philosophy, higher education, it's higher thinking. The dynamic with Sagittarius is connects with the energy of Gemini. Gemini is at the opposite side of the spectrum of Sagittarius. Gemini is the lower mind. It's our physical thoughts. It's the mundane thoughts. It's the thoughts that connect us really with the physical world. But the sign of Sagittarius is the higher mind, those higher thoughts. And when we have a balance with the lower thoughts and the higher thoughts, if you will, we certainly can experience much more harmony in our thinking process, in our thoughts, and also the way that we receive the information that comes through from spirit can be very, very clear when we maintain that balance. And certainly one of the greatest ways to maintain that balance is through the process and the experience of meditation. I want to talk about meditation because at our full moon we have some somewhat challenging aspects, if you will, from Neptune. Neptune is a very nebulous energy. It's the planet that is most associated with mysticism, the psychic faculties. Also, high levels of spirituality come through the planet of Neptune. When Neptune forms challenging aspects with any of the planets, certainly it can offer the influence of, certainly from a lower vibration, it offers the influence of substances, drugs, and alcoholism, the experience of escapism. However, whenever we can recognize the negative, we can always choose to emphasize the positive. Whenever there's the presence of something negative, we always have the opportunity to experience the positive when we allow ourselves to do so, and when we do so through awareness. Because we have the influences of the higher mind, the planet Neptune connecting with the psychic faculties, at this time during this full moon we are certainly given the opportunity to recognize our connections with the higher mind through experiences of meditation. Also, the meditation will offset any negative influences that Neptune might incur. With Neptune, we always want to be aware to connect with spirit, the energy with spirit. When we do so from the physical form, we experience confusion. We experience tremendous amounts of confusion. We experience the energy of feeling as though we are in a fog. But as Neptune can potentially create confusion and the experience of a fog, Neptune will always bring us clarity, especially when we choose to withdraw ourselves from the physical world through meditation. With meditation comes some very powerful information, insights, awarenesses about ourselves, our purpose, our journey. So in these next few weeks, I certainly would suggest, as much as you can, incorporating the practice of meditation in your everyday lives, especially since we have a Mercury retrograde that is still very much in play. The Mercury retrograde will remain in effect until June 11th. At that point, that's the point at which Mercury will appear to be moving direct in its orbit. However, I will add to that its influences do remain in effect until June 27th. June 27th is the point at which Mercury moves retrograde, and it's not until it moves past that point where Mercury is finally full force in its orbit, and at that time a tremendous amount of clarity will come to us, especially if during the Mercury retrograde we've been using it effectively and we've been using the time to reflect and to review and to go within. Whatever it is that you may have been praying upon, meditating upon during this Mercury retrograde, the clarity certainly will begin to come to you and come together for you. As I said, Mercury direct will always bring clarity, especially if we can recognize and understand at what part of our charts that Mercury retrograde connected with. For example, if you had Mercury retrograde going through your 10th house, the 10th house is associated with our career, our long-term goals, and our endeavors. This Mercury retrograde, specifically for you, if that's where Mercury retrograde went in your chart, it was a time for you to reflect and review upon your career and where it is that you would like your career to go from this point forward and what you would like to experience certainly in those endeavors. As I said, Neptune is a very strong influence at this time. I noticed that during one of Lori's videos, she spoke of how June offers the opportunity for trust. Neptune is also the planet of trust. When we go within, when we allow ourselves to be very, very clear with our connections with the spirit realm, we begin to trust all that we are given from spirit. We begin to trust ourselves. More so, we begin to trust the presence of spirit in our lives and also that guidance from spirit that is connected to every one of us. As we go through the month of June, on June 14th, Saturn has been retrograde for a while now. On June 14th, Saturn will dip back into the sign of Scorpio. It's been in Sagittarius, highlighting some of those Sagittarian influences, as I mentioned earlier, but as it dips back into Scorpio, we begin to finally re-emphasize our connections, or rather our psychic sensitivity. Scorpio is a sign that is most associated with the psychic faculty, certainly as well as Neptune and Pisces are. All the water signs are associated with the psychic faculty. Scorpio is a very strong influence of that because it's also the sign that is associated with the element of self-empowerment. As Saturn was going through the sign of Scorpio, we're being given the opportunity and encouragement to empower ourselves through our connections with spirit and our psychic faculties. As it goes into Sagittarius, it helps us to strengthen the connection with our higher mind, allowing us to proceed on our evolutionary journey. Saturn will be full force into the sign of Sagittarius on September 17th of this year. One of the strongest influences of Saturn into Sagittarius, it's again strengthening the higher mind, the presence of Sagittarius, the understanding of the higher mind, but it also influences publishing. Any of us who have been in the publishing industry or working on publishing projects or even beginning projects that will eventually lead to a published product, certainly during Saturn's transit through Sagittarius, it will offer us the opportunity to do that. On June 16th, we have a new moon in the sign of Gemini. What's significant with this new moon specifically is that it's triggering the energies of the March 20th solar eclipse we had in late degrees of Pisces. Whatever was taking place at that time, during the time of that solar eclipse, now is the time for us to move forward. Now is the time for us to take some dynamic action with whatever it is that we need to move forward with those endeavors, with whatever it is that was taking place at that time, so that we can move forward and proceed to the next series of experiences. Again, the astrological influences are very specific to each and every one of us, dependent upon where they connect within our charts. I'm offering up just a backdrop, as I've mentioned many times before, just a backdrop, just a point of reference as to what it is that we can remember and how to use these energies. On June 21st, we have the summer solstice. Certainly many of us are welcoming the summer time period, especially those of us here in the Northeast. We did experience a very harsh cold winter. However, in that harshness coldness, and in that coldness, certainly it all has benefits, you know, and it is during those winter months where there is much germination that takes place, and in the spring we see the buds of whatever may have been germinating during the winter time frame. Now, as the sun moves into the sign of Cancer, it begins the summer solstice. It's a time for us certainly to connect with the energy of the sun. The energy of the sun brings us vitality, certainly brings us vitamin D, and it certainly can re-energize our own sense of vitality and well-being. I'm highlighting well-being because in the chart, in the United States chart that was cast for the summer solstice on June 21st, we have the sign of Virgo rising. Virgo is associated and connects with our well-being, how we maintain the well-being of the physical body. And certainly spiritually and metaphysically, one of the greatest ways that we can do that is through our connection with nature, understanding and remembering our connection with the natural world. Many of us understand that nature does heal. True healing certainly comes from within, but it also comes through the natural world, the elements in the natural world. I would suggest that during the time, this summer time frame, recognize for yourselves how there are so many healing elements in the natural world, and it's certainly something for us to recognize what it is that we can do for ourselves with this availability. So with that said, I would like to just say thank you once again for giving me this opportunity, this very brief opportunity, to share with you my insights for this coming month. You know, certainly if there's anything personally, specifically that you would like me to address, I am available through Lori's website on the Mystical Moon Psychics. I will be back at the Mystical Moon, I'm hoping in the November time frame. I'm actually, even though it's 5 months away, there's a lot of scheduling that we do need to take into consideration. I will be certainly modifying and solidifying my schedule in these coming months, and as I do so, I will certainly share that with you as well. So once again, I thank you. Namaste. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Stay in the light, and always stay in a place of love. Blessed be.